Hi, I'm Ashley of Painting with Ashley, and today I'm going to show you how to paint this Leafy sea dragon in watercolor brush pens. You could do this in regular watercolor as well. You just have to kind of adapt the techniques a little bit, but I used my brush pens for this just to get the really bright, vivid colors and a little bit more control with the placement of some of the colors. Plus, I just wanted to play around with them today, so that's what I used. So the Leafy sea dragon is actually a real fish. It's closely related to the seahorse, which is why it looks like a seahorse that's a tree. But it's actually a real fish, and it's just one of the coolest animals ever. Also, my daughter is obsessed with dragons, so I figured why not paint her a real life dragon? So let's dive in and see how to paint it. Okay, so we're going to start with the preliminary sketch with just a mechanical pencil, and I like the 0.5 millimeter size. I also have 0.7 and 0.9, but they're just too thick for me. Okay, so I'm just going to get in the basic shapes here of the sea dragon. So starting with the little mouth area. And it's just kind of a little bump on the end of two parallel lines, essentially, and then it's going to widen into the jaw here. And we're just going to scoop down to do the jaw, and then for the top, it's going to be a little bit more of like a bumpy look. So we're going to do a little line up, and then kind of a point, and come back down, and then do another bump here, and then the back of the head. Okay, and then we're going to come down into the neck, and the neck's going to curve down kind of, it's almost like seahorse looking, and then the body's different. The body's more dragony. Okay, so we're going to swoop down a little bit, and then kind of, it doesn't matter if these lines are super smooth because we're going to have all our little weed leafiness coming off of it, okay? So down, give it some movement here, and then come back up. So that's kind of the belly area, and then we're going to come into the little tail, which is going to swoop around this way and kind of fill up the end of the page. Okay, and then the other side of the tail, same idea. It's going to kind of swoop around, fill up the end of the page, and then we can get the back in. So the back of the neck swoops down also, and then we're going to have a nice sharp curve up here. Kind of widen it out. Here we go. A little bit more movement. Okay, so there's the basic shape of our Leafy sea dragon, and then we need to start adding in some of our little weeds or leaves. Okay, and they come off just everywhere. I might even kind of exaggerate so that his shape's a little bit more. Add another little bump here. Okay, add some more bumps on. And to make him more bumpy on the bottom. Just go. Okay. Now we'll start adding in the little weighty leafy bits. Okay, so I'm just going to put the little branches because the actual leaves I'll paint in just to get nice organic shapes.
Got it.
Okay, we'll have some coming off the behind where we can't see the start, so just some that'll kind of be coming off this way. And I'm just putting them randomly off of the sea dragon. And then off the tail, this kind of whole area is going to become leafy. Okay. Cut at the end here is just all leaves and tail, little weedy tailness. Okay. And I might add in a few more later as I start painting, just to get a little bit more fullness, but we'll see how it looks. Basically, this. Define that mouth a little bit more. Their heads are just so crazy. Okay, and then the eye will be in here. Okay, so there is the general shape of my leafy sea dragon. Now I need to grab my kneaded eraser, which is in my purse, and lighten up the sketch. Okay, I'm just gonna roll my kneaded eraser over the sketch to lighten it up. Okay, I also grabbed this little ceramic palette because I am going to use the watercolor brush pens, but I might want to do some washes, so I would loosen up the pigment or the paint in there. So now I need to choose what colors I want. And I want them to be sort of natural, but maybe just a little bit more vivid. So I'm going to use some brighter greens that maybe aren't quite as natural, but just really vivid, bright, but still like sort of natural, if that makes sense. So this bright green is nice. And then I might want to, this one's bottle green, which is number 6. This is just green, number 37. So I might use both of those, and maybe like this lime green, it is grass green, number 4. And this one's yellow green, number 3. So get a bunch of greens and then throw in some yellows also. So this one is fluorescent yellow, which is number 1. So that might be kind of fun. And lemon yellow, number 2. So more cool greeny yellows, not orangey yellows. And then I need to get the darker colors for the little like spots. So I don't know yet, but I have khaki number 29 and sienna number 23 out. So maybe I'll use those. Here's a dark brown number 22. Might use that, probably not. But I'll kind of go with what feels right at the time. Hickory is number 49. That's a more reddish brown, so I don't know if I'll use that one, but we'll see. Okay, I'm just gonna start, I think, with my lightest green here and do some outlining with that. So I think I'm gonna get in, how do I want to approach it? I'm gonna start with kind of the body and some leaves and come back and do like the details of the face later. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of literally outline the body here. And it doesn't matter if it's jaggedy because it's supposed to be kind of loose and jaggedy, right? Okay. Get that. A little bit of water on there. So it's drying out a little bit. There we go. We'll get space, a lot of color there. And then some yellow. So I'm gonna start with the lemon yellow, and I'm just gonna do, ooh, that had some rain in it. There we go. So I just rinsed it out and then scribbled on my towel to get that green off of it. And I'm just doing lines here on the body. And I'll add some fluorescent yellow also at this point, just because it seems fun. And this fluorescent yellow literally looks like a highlighter. Okay, now I'm gonna take a size 8 brush, so it's not too big. I move these out of the way. Take a size 8 brush, a little bit of water, and blend that all together. And I'm just literally adding the water over the whole thing. Okay, and then here I'm gonna drag some of that color down into the tail. Pulling up and down from the outline to blend it out. Okay. Add a bit more yellow in and kind of blend it. Added a little bit more fluorescent. I might do some accents of that fluorescent after. That looks cool. It's gonna end up blending out though as I keep going. Okay, so now for some of the leaves, I'm gonna take my yellow again and start adding in little like branches. So I'm just very loosely going off of the body and adding in that color, and then we're going to work our way kind of toward the green. This golden brown is like a more yellowy, greenish color. Use some of that. Okay. Now before that dries too much, get some water and kind of blend those out into some basic leaf shapes. And it's really light right now. We'll add more color on top of it. But just getting some basic shapes in to start with. That looks actually really cool. I'm really liking this. It's so much fun. I love these leafy sea dragons. They're one of my favorite animals. I think they're so cool. And I just, honestly, I can't believe they're real. And if I hadn't have seen them in real life at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, I might still not believe they're real. Okay, now I'm gonna add some of this more vivid green. Okay, and I'm just kind of stroking it in to those leaves. Some areas kind of outlining it, and some areas going down the middle. Okay, then blend that out just a little bit. I'm really liking that. Okay. see. So I'm going to add some of the other greens now, just to get some more variety in these colors, and then adding it while it's a little bit wet, so it is bleeding out some. And I'm almost just outlining them. Not exactly, but sort of. Okay, now we're gonna blend that color out, because that is a very intense color. And I might not end up liking it, but never gonna know if we don't try, right? Some of these areas I'm scrubbing a little bit more to lift. And let's go back in with this more natural green. Add a little bit extra. To some of these areas. So I'm adding extra leaves, really. And then to some of them, just adding an extra stroke of color. So here it's gonna kind of be like 2 leaves on top of each other. So I'm gonna add that a little bit more to that one. There we go. That looks cool. Okay. I'm gonna kind of separate these ones out a little bit more also. There we go. Okay. Now I need to I want to work on this tail part to really get some definition in there. And I'm going to look at like a little bit more of a like cluster of a bunch of leaves. Getting? So I'm going to add a few different colors here. This is 2 separate leaves, so I want to make sure that there's some contrast there. A little bit of the green too. Now to take a brush and blend out some of those areas. Just kind of make it a little bit more jaggedy here, and doing that wet on wet so it's blending out a little bit. I'm going to add a few strokes of fluorescent in there, just to really bring it to life. Might add a little bit of a greener leaf here. So here I'm just playing around. I'm I mean, I have an idea in my head, right, of the Leafy sea dragon that I want it to kind of turn out looking like, but they're kind of, they're real, but they're kind of mythical, right? They're just dragony. So if it's not like a perfect replica of a Leafy sea dragon, I don't really care. I'm going for whimsical. And so it's kind of, you know, free and loose and just kind of play with it. Ooh, I like that. Fluorescent over that more vivid green. That's a cool look. Kidding. Add that in some places. Okay, I'm liking that quite a bit. I do want to splatter a little bit, so I'm gonna take my yellow and just kind of splatter in. This way this worked last time I tried to do this, but that's okay. Anyway, I can get some off of my palette here. It's very pale, but I'm gonna splatter that in. And then take some of this green also and splatter that in. There we go. That's working better. Add a little bit more water. Loosen up some of those dots a little bit so they're not too perfectly round. Okay. So now I need to work on some more of the leaves on the back and then the face. So I'm just going to use the same techniques here. I kind of want to go from a little bit more vivid green this time and blend that out into the yellow. Now after you dip it in water, it does take a minute for that pigment to come back, but it does come back. It's not gonna ruin it. I've found. These are kind of the fins here on the front.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of this darker green here in some areas. And see how that looks. So I gotta blend it out. I'm gonna add a little bit of some stripes to the back here, just drawing that color that I activated from the branches. That's what I'm gonna call them. There we go. And just kind of get some stripes there. then same here, going down kind of into the tail, a few stripes, and then blend it out. There we go. Okay, add a bit more of the yellow and the brownish. This is golden brown, but it's kind of a greenish yellow brown color. I don't know. There we go. We didn't need to add a few more coming off the back here. Okay, now add just a little bit of extra definition into some of these coming off the tail. Go. And then come back to that fluorescent. And same thing, add a few extra strokes. Do little strokes of fluorescent into the body. Okay, now to come up and work on the branches coming off the head. I'm just wiggling the brush around, not being too precise about it. A little bit. Like smaller leaves up off the head. And I'm just really trying purposefully to have a shaky hand here for some of these. Okay. And that's gonna get a little bit more movement and make my shapes a little bit more natural and lively. Because, I mean, this guy's swimming, right? And he's waving around in water. He's not just sitting still. Perfect little precise shapes. So having a shaky hand for this is fine. Okay. Then I'm just going to add some variety into the colors. Again, I'm going wet into wet, so I am getting some bleeds. Also, it's kind of rinsing almost rinsing the paint off of the brush, so have to let the brush kind of refill for a second. And just to hook some linear details on some of them, kind of wiggling around the edges to make it look a little bit more jagged. See? And then it'll line down the center of some of them. So a little wide, and then add a little water right next to it. Okay. So now I'm going to come in and work on the face. You want to make it more yellow with the eye. I'm really just kind of coloring it in. Okay, a little bit of the brown toward the bottom and the very top. It's like a little shadow. Get it a little bit more green for the nose area. We'll add some fluorescent in. Okay, let's blend that out and see how that looks so far. So I'm just blending all of that together. Okay. And then the eye is going to be a kind of orangey yellow. So do the yellow first and then come in and grab an orange. So this is literally just orange, number 16. And kind of do that around the eye. Okay. And then a nice brown dot in the center. So this one's dark brown, number 22. So I'm just gonna do a little half, not really half, a circle. Thicker on the bottom though, and then khaki number 29. Add a tiny bit of that in, and then the hickory, which is number 49. We'll add just around the very edge. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little bit of that hickory to loosely outline the eye, but not the whole thing. Okay, then I'm going to add some of that khaki kind of around the eye. Just a touch of water, not much, because I don't want it to blend out too much. There we go. But I do want kind of these spots to blend out a tad. Okay, now I'm going to add some spots of the khaki onto the leaves. Kind of blend them a little bit. don't know if I love that. So when I'm looking at the picture of the Leafy Sea Dragon, it does have these little polka dots on the leaves basically, but I don't really like it. So I'm gonna leave them off and stick with my stripey look instead. Okay, I want a little bit more of the bright greens down in the tail. So I'm gonna add that to some of the leaves, but not all of them. And this one is the just green, so number 34. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of the bottle green, which is like a vivid, kind of bluey green. And I'm doing that on the spot where it is already wet, so it's bleeding out a little bit, and I like that effect a lot. That's just bringing some depth and darkness down here to the bottom of the painting. Let's add a stroke of fluorescent next to it. Good. Jagged, okay. And then I want to mimic some of those colors maybe up in here a little bit more. So I'm gonna do similar on this one where it's already got some darkness. And then let's go for this green up in here. Pull this one forward a little bit. Make it stand out more. Okay, here I'm gonna wet this leaf first and then add the green. Okay, just a tiny bit of the bottle green also, which is that much darker version. Just a little bit. There you go. Okay. All right. I'm gonna splatter some of the greens also. So I'm gonna take my brush and I put some over in my palette and splatter that in. Same with this darker green. Just put a tiny bit there and a bunch of water because I don't want it to really overpower. So I'm gonna put a lot of water. And then put some of that in. And that'll make it look a little bit more underwater because it's that more bluey color. Might wash some of that out too.
See.
There we go. Okay. A couple more strokes of fluorescent. Outline some of these in fluorescent. See? And the fluorescent definitely glaze on really obvious, and then it kind of fades out as it dries. So that's something to note, I guess. If you really want to keep that highlighter vibe, it's probably not going to happen. It's going to fade out some as it dries, but there is my Leafy Sea Dragon. I think that it's done. Again, here is that completed Leafy Sea Dragon painting, and I really love just the bright, vivid playfulness of this painting. It's, you know, not true to life. It's definitely my loose interpretation, kind of an illustration of this animal, but I really love how it turned out. And if you're still watching, I just want to say thank you again, because I know that your time's important and I appreciate that you've spent it with me today. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks again. Bye.